Hey everybody! Are you ready to make salsa? I am. I'm just opening my cans. You probably have an electric can opener, which means you could do this faster than I can. The recipe is on the Cookie School page. Hope you've downloaded it so we can all look at it together. Hey Lonnie, hey Michelle. Who remembers what is the first thing we are supposed to do when we come into our science lab / kitchen? Somebody say it. Hey Brandon. Hey Ashley. We're going to wash our hands. So remember how we're supposed to wash them with soap and warm water? I've got some hand soap. I'm going to wash them like I'm some kind of surgeon preparing to take out tonsils. Wash between my fingers. Wash my fingertips. Who likes salsa and chips and cheese dip and tacos and Mexican food? That is like my favorite kind of food. I am about to die to have some chips and salsa. And luckily, I know how to make the yummiest chips and salsa ever. I know that everybody is trying to make do with, sometimes you might have one thing in your house and sometimes another, but I am going to show you some things that you can substitute out if you don't have every single thing. The first thing, let's see. Hey Robin, hey Norma, hey Ellie. The first thing I want to tell you is that today is a day you are going to need to be very, very careful in the kitchen. Today, we are working with some knives. Now, that doesn't mean that because you're a kid, you should never use a knife, because you should. You should be able to do it carefully. So, the main thing is that you have an adult in the kitchen with you. So, the first thing I'm going to do is take my cans of stewed tomatoes. Now, mine say diced tomatoes. Your tomatoes might be, depending on what your mom buys them for, it could be for chili or something that you want bigger. So I believe they come chunked, they come sliced, they come diced. I like them diced, but it really doesn't matter. Whichever one you have, you're going to put it in your blender anyway. So I've got my cans of diced tomatoes right here. And I'm going to open it up. And the first thing I'm going to do is I have a colander. Do you know what a colander is? A colander is a bowl with a lot of little holes in the bottom of it. Now, what good is a bowl with a lot of holes in the bottom of it? Do you know? Well, it will let juice drip out, but it will keep your tomatoes in there. And I like my salsa not so watery. So I'm just going to pour my can of tomatoes in there. And can you see what's happening? The juice is dripping through those holes, and it is keeping the tomato parts. Can you see that? Now, some people like to keep that little bit of juice that's dripping in there. I usually pour it out, but sometimes I'll put some pepper and stuff in there and make a good little, it reminds me of a V8 juice if you've ever had a vegetable juice. So, the next thing I'm going to do is I've got a blender. Now, your blender may not look like this one, but it doesn't matter. Blenders all do the same thing. This one is a Ninja, and I use it a lot, but I have several different things that blend. You could use a food processor. You could use, you could even do it just with a knife, but I do it with a blender because that's how I like it. The first thing I'm going to add into my blender is my onion. Now, I need a medium onion. You see what I have here? And I always start by cutting off the top and the bottom. And then I take off that outer layer. Now, sometimes if I am making chili or spaghetti sauce, I'm going to cut this into some little small pieces. But for this, I can really cut it into some big chunks because I'm putting it in the blender anyway. So you see how big those are? Okay, so I've just got some big chunks of onion. Now, this is something really cool about being the maker of the salsa. Whatever you like, that's what you get to put in there. Now, in my family, I know how we like our salsa. But, some people say, I don't like it hot. I don't want to add any jalapenos to it. The last can that you have here is called tomatoes with green chilies, and what that is another can of tomatoes, and inside there is a little bit of green peppers. That kind of gives it a kick. It makes it a little bit hot. So we've got our medium onion. Now you could use garlic. Your garlic might look like this, and you might have a garlic crusher, and if you have that, use it. That is perfectly fine. Or your garlic might look like this. This is a jar of garlic that already has everything in there. Now, what is it asking for of garlic? A teaspoon. So I'm going to put a teaspoon of crushed garlic in my blender. A teaspoon of salt. I have my salt here. A half teaspoon of pepper. Now on my cooking it measuring spoon, that's over here. So I am going to put a half teaspoon of pepper and a half teaspoon of garlic powder. I'm going to have to put this over the sink because I can see me making a mess and spilling some of that out. Now here's something interesting. Those last ingredients that were 1 part garlic powder, 1 part pepper, 1 part salt, 2 parts salt, is a special blend that I put in a lot of things. And I have it already blended up just like that. And I keep it in this little shaker container. This is a house seasoning, and Paula Dean uses it for a whole lot of things, and she also sells it in her gift shop. But she also gives you the recipe. So if you like to have one thing where you're not having to get out your garlic powder and your pepper and your salt all the time, here it is already mixed up. I keep that because I add it to my green beans, I add it to grits, I add it to everything, and it is so good. So that's just a little extra tip, and those same ingredients are called for in salsa. So I could have just put 2 teaspoons of this in my blender and I would have had the same thing. And I'm going to put in, because my family likes it a little bit hot, I'm going to put in some pickled jalapenos. But if you don't like yours hot, you can just leave that part out. Now, can you see I've got all those ingredients in here? This is not going to take long at all. So the next time you are feeling like some chips and salsa and you're all out of the store brand kind, just tell your mom you can make it. Okay, so I'm going to put my lid on my blender. And I'm going to pulse it. Now, my real reason for putting all of this in here and waiting on the tomatoes is because I like for these ingredients to be more finely chopped. I don't want those whole jalapenos in there, so I'm kind of mixing that on around. Now, I'm going to take my one can of diced tomatoes with green chilies. This is not the Rotel brand. This is the Aldi brand, and I like it. And I'm even putting the juice in there because the juice gives that salsa a little bit of kick. Now, you see what it looks like? Now all I have left to do is to take these tomatoes that I've drained, that 2 cans, and pour it in my blender. And this is where you get to decide, do you like yours more chunky or less chunky? I like mine kind of the way they serve it at the Mexican restaurant, which is pretty well blended together. So, basically, I'm going to give it a little spin. You see that? It's a lot of salsa, isn't it? Now, for lime juice, what did I do with my lime? I have limes. If you don't have a lime at your house, you could also use this. This is lime juice, and your mom might have some lime juice in the house, but because I've got fresh lime and I'd like to use it up, I'm going to use my lime. I'm going to roll it to kind of soften it up. I'm going to use my knife again. And I am going to squeeze this lime into my blender. And I'm going to take this, instead of putting it in the trash, I'm going to put this in my garbage disposer, because if you've ever got a leftover orange or a leftover lemon or a lime, it will make your garbage disposer smell fresh. So I'm going to put that down my disposer and let it help clean my disposer out. Now, one last thing. This is what fresh cilantro looks like. Do you have fresh cilantro in your house? I want to tell you something about cilantro. If you don't have it, you can still make salsa without it. But it's sort of one of the things that people say, is very iconic in your salsa flavor. But I can remember when I used to go to a Mexican restaurant and I would tell them, no cilantro. Do you know why I would say that? Because I didn't like it. I distinctly remember not liking cilantro. I thought that cilantro tasted kind of like soap. Have you ever started washing your hair and you got soap in your mouth and it tasted soapy? Well, that's what I thought cilantro tasted like. But I learned that over time, your taste buds change. And I'm glad they do. When you're young, your taste buds are very, very active. And they taste bitter and savory and sour and sweet in different parts. And just like other cells in your body die, your taste bud cells die, but they regenerate until you get really old, like about 40 or something. And then after that age, your taste buds are just not as, they're not as hypersensitive as they are when you're younger. So it might be that if you're a picky eater, it's because your taste buds they are very discriminatory. They don't like certain things. So what I'm going to do now, I want to encourage you, if there's something that you didn't like more than a year ago, try it again, because I could take a piece and eat it, and it does not taste like soap to me. It almost tastes sort of citrusy, minty to me, but could be because I've just gotten older. But I've got just some kitchen scissors, and I am going to cut my leaves into my blender. That looks like about enough. I'm going to put my lid back on. I'm going to give it one more quick stir. And our salsa is going to be ready to eat. Now, remember I told you that if you saved a jar, you could pour it in. Well, I've got a jar. Look at this clever jar. I was making spaghetti earlier in the week. When I took the label off, I noticed something very cool about this glass jar. Can you see what's on the side of it? It's got measurements like 2 1/4 cups, 1 3/4 cups, 1 1/3 cups on the different sides of the jar. And that means that whoever bought this jar, the spaghetti sauce manufacturer, is hoping that we won't just put the jar in the trash can, we will give it a different purpose. And so I was glad, honestly, I didn't notice until I went to go take the label off of it and put it in the dishwasher. But in this case, I'm going to reuse this jar and not have to put a perfectly good glass jar in the landfill. So I'm going to take my spinner out of the middle and I'm going to put my salsa in a jar. Now, sometimes, like if I'm going on vacation and I want to take some salsa, I'll make twice this much. And I have containers like this. We buy some nuts and things that come in a jar like this. And I can fill this whole jar almost up with salsa because this is very inexpensive to make, especially considering how much it costs in the grocery store. So I'm sure that when your family tries this this salsa recipe, they are going to like it. Now, once I get my homemade salsa made up and I put it in the refrigerator, the longer it sits in there, the better it's going to taste. But I'm not going to lie and tell you, I don't eat some right out as soon as I get it made, because I've got to try it and taste and make sure I like it, because sometimes I might say, oh, I would like a little more lime in that. And when you are the one who makes it, that's what you get to do. So I want to say, first of all, thank you to everyone who has posted their homework on the Cookie School page. That makes me very happy, because it lets me know that you really are doing or trying some of the recipes. Now, next time we get together, we are going to go back to making something sweet. We are going to make peanut butter cookies, and it only takes 3 ingredients. Well, 4 if you count cookie dough, which I totally do. So look at that recipe and get your ingredients together for our class on Thursday. And if you like your salsa and your family likes your salsa, be sure to post a picture on the Cookie School page. Also, get your friends to join us in class when we are having class, because y'all want to maybe share a good time. You know, when you go back to school, all you're concerned with is, do I have a friend in my class? And so I want to make sure you have a friend in the Cookie School class too. So you just get your friends together and invite them. You can send them the link, or you could do me a favor and just share this right now to your Facebook wall, and that'll let other people know these classes are for kids. They are designed for kids. They are also designed to try and have as many ingredients as you might already have on hand. Most people have tomatoes in their pantry, and most people have peanut butter in their pantry, and most people have sugar. So a lot of the recipes have to do with things that are commonly in your pantry. The longer this goes on, the more it might be you're going to have to call for some Instacart to bring you some groceries. But I like to put the recipes out there a little bit in advance so that you can be ready for them and you can have a good time. The other thing is the extra credit for homework. I've talked to some teachers, and they are very lonesome for y'all. They are going crazy not being able to hear from you. Now, I know some teachers have driven through neighborhoods honking horns and everything, but nothing would make your teacher any happier than if you wrote her an actual letter, put an actual stamp on it, and put it in your mailbox and let the mail carrier take it to her. So I want to encourage you to do your extra credit homework, which is to write your teacher a letter and let her know, hey, I'm still doing all your work, but I'm also learning some things from the Cookie School. It will make her very happy, and it will make you feel good too, because there's a lot of skills there. You have to be able to write a letter in proper form. You've got to be able to address an envelope. You got to be able to get a stamp and put it on there. So I want to encourage you to write a letter to your actual teacher and let her know some of the things that you are doing while you are on this crazy, unexpected holiday that you have. So be sure to invite a friend to come to class with you on Thursday at 1 o'clock. And I look forward to seeing you again. Bye now.